the workers at Amazon, known as Amazon Labor Union. That is the group that is trying to form a union. It's a group of workers. They recently filed with the National Labor Relations Board to hold a union election. Unfortunately, the National Labor Relations Board rejected it, saying that they didn't have enough signatures. To be clear, they presented the Amazon Labor Union, and Christian Smalls is one of the leaders. Other current workers are one of the leaders of Amazon Labor Union. They presented over 2,000 signatures from current workers expressing support for a union. But what happened, according to Christian Smalls and others I've spoken with, is essentially Amazon fired a lot of the workers who had signed on to pro-union. So technically, even though they had a hell of a lot of signatures, a lot of those signatures, the workers no longer work there because Amazon fired them, which to me is borderline illegal. Why are these workers that signed on for union cards, signed their support for holding a union election, and this would be the first unionized Amazon workforce in America? Why is that? That's interesting, right? So Christian Smalls, some other folks I said they're working behind the scenes to resubmit really quickly, blah, 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 blah. According to them, it's not fatal, and they are still resubmitting. But after, and this was about a week ago, I believe, a little over a week ago, that the NLRB, National Labor Relations Board, rejected the Amazon workers' petition to hold a union election. All of a sudden, Amazon started holding mandatory daily, what they call peak training sessions. Mandatory daily peak training sessions. And actually, Vice News, credit to them, they obtained audio from one a week ago today. So one from last Thursday, and they published that on Vice News. In our Substack story, I'd link to the Vice News story because they had audio of one of the union busting meetings too. But Status Coup obtained audio from a meeting the next day, Friday, November 12th. And what I'm told from workers I spoke with, there's a couple dozen workers usually in these mandatory meetings. Workers I spoke with said there are several of these meetings per day. So you have several meetings. They go over a half hour where it starts out kind of friendly with employee relations officials. In the audio we obtained, those employee relations officials, one was from Chicago. So Amazon is bringing in out-of-state employee relations officials to hold these union busting meetings. And in these meetings, they start off, Colin, let's start off with the audio where the employee relations official, i.e. the HR official, starts immediately getting into who is ALU and what is ALU asking you to sign if they approach you.
This one, I want to talk about Amazon and third parties. So we have an amazing report because of you. And our direct relationship with the social union has been a key factor with ALU. And what the ALU asks you to sign, if they approach you, direct conversation is more efficient and effective. So you tell the management, they hear you, and then you take action. Yeah, the last one I want to touch base on the open door policy.
So understandably, this audio is not terrific. There are parts of it that are better than others. But I'm just going to describe it because I listened very closely. It's over a half hour. I listened to the whole thing twice. So you might not be able to make out everything in the story, and that's in the description of this YouTube video. But immediately they start off with who is ALU and what exactly are they asking you to sign? So right off the bat, you could tell, wait, they described this meeting as peak training meetings. But it seems right off the bat, what they want to train you on is that boogeyman, the Amazon Labor Union, i.e. workers trying to form a union. So it's union busting 101. It's mandatory. You have to go. And I can tell you, having covered Amazon on the ground in Staten Island, these are for the most part, a lot of young workers, 18 to 25. There's obviously older workers too. But when people start coming off that bus, you see a lot of young people that are working in Amazon. So this is, these kind of sessions could be intimidating. They could be confusing. There's a lot of propaganda being fed to a mostly younger workforce. Frankly, a black and brown workforce, a lot of black and brown individuals who desperately want to keep their job. and Amazon, like Starbucks and others, they play the game of trying to instill fear and threats of this scary union. So we're going to play more audio clips, but I want to read from the Substack piece. And again, we broke this earlier today. If you don't know, Status Coup is on Substack. It's called Status Substack. Headline: Pure lies. Leaked audio of Amazon union busting meeting shows HR officials pushing workers against unionizing. Status Coup obtained audio that drops the curtain on one of the mandatory daily anti-union meetings Amazon has been holding at the JFK 8 Staten Island warehouse, where workers are trying to unionize. So, Status Quo has obtained audio of a contentious anti-union meeting held at Amazon's JFK 8 Staten Island warehouse on November 12th, in which two company HR officials pushed anti-union messaging in an attempt to convince workers not to sign up to form a union at the massive New York warehouse, for which workers began a union drive earlier this year. The 31-minute recording is at the bottom of this story. And just to be clear, the audio is not terrific. I think you could make out a lot of it. There's certain parts it's hard to understand, but there are quite a few parts. There are a lot of parts that are easy to understand. Who is AOU and what is AOU asking you to sign if they approach you, which is the audio we just played. Dan Tan, whose LinkedIn lists himself as a Chicago-based Amazon employee relations official, said at the start of the peak training meeting about Amazon labor union AOU, the group of Amazon workers at JFK 8 who have been organizing to form a union at Amazon for months. Quote, directly working together is the best way to improve everything, Tan said, pushing a common anti-union talking point that glorifies the, quote, direct working relationship between employers and employees that would be supposedly harmed if workers unionize. So, quote, direct conversation is more effective and more efficient and effective. Tan added about the importance of Amazon's one-on-one relationship with employees. So this is not just Amazon. This is what Starbucks is doing. This is what a whole lot of big corporate Goliaths filled with vultures like Jeff Bezos and Howard Schultz and all of them. They want to push this propaganda that, no, we don't want this, quote, third party who's going to make you pay dues and could fine you and is going to get in the middle of our wonderful direct relationship that we have. Well, common sense. If the relationship was so wonderful and direct, do you think these workers would be trying to form a union? According to multiple workers Status Coup spoke with, Amazon began holding these mandatory sessions led mostly by out-of-state HR officials like Dan Tan. Again, Amazon began holding daily mandatory, quote, peak training meetings last week. It just so happens after Amazon workers submitted to hold it with the NLRB to hold a union election. That's when Amazon decided to do these daily, what they call in organized labor, captive audience meetings, which are union busting sessions. That's all they are. On a daily basis at JFK 8 last week, seemingly for the purpose of pushing workers not to sign on to the unionization campaign launched by the worker-led ALU. Among organized labor experts, these anti-union meetings are known as captive audience meetings and are meant to intimidate and confuse workers about forming a union. The decision by Amazon to hold the mandatory daily union busting sessions is a reaction to ALU, again, the group of workers who are trying to form a union, recently filing to hold a union election with the National Labor Relations Board. Connor Spence, a worker and a member of ALU, told Status Coup, quote, we filed and there is a lot of pro-union sentiment, Spence told us. Spence pointed out that Amazon is also holding these anti-union sessions to collect polling data about worker sentiment on the union, which, according to Spence, is an unlawful polling effort that ALU has already filed charges against Amazon for with the National Labor Relations Board. Quote, they are using these meetings as a way to gather data by monitoring how workers speak out and what kind of questions they ask, Spence told Status Coup. However, I think we've been so disruptive in these meetings that they haven't got much useful data. Amazon did not respond to questions about this accusation or this meeting that we obtained audio from.